What's up, everybody? Rob here. So, I am a big fan of George R. R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series and also the HBO TV series Game of Thrones. Up until about season 4. At the end of season 4, I got rid of TV altogether. I stopped watching TV altogether, and I just kind of lost interest in the whole thing. Diverting from the books too much, and the plot lines, as far as I can tell, were going in some weird directions. And from what I gather from people, seasons 5 and 6 have been a steady decline in the last season. I think last season was season 7 was, for many people, was utterly abysmal, at least compared to where it was in earlier seasons because Martin had left the show. That's not what I'm here to talk about, though. There are other channels you can, learn about that from. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lay out my prediction for especially the books, but also possibly for the TV series as well, who's going to be the ultimate victor of the Iron Throne. Who is going to be sitting on the Iron Throne and ruling over Westeros. And I'm going to do it using my knowledge of history. Alright, so just want to point out a couple things before I get into this. I don't have any inside information. I'm a nobody. This is just my personal speculation. I don't work for anybody. I didn't hear any rumors. It's just all going on in my head. I think way too much, and this is what I'm doing now is basically what I think about all the time. Also, just want to point out too that spoilers ahead, so if you haven't read the books or watched the TV series or anything like that, well, okay, stop watching now. No, keep watching actually anyway, but I need the views. Now, for those who don't know, A Song of Ice and Fire series is loosely based on the Wars of the Roses. Now, the Wars of the Roses were a series of dynastic conflicts, basically a civil war in England in the latter part of the 15th century. It pitted two major noble houses in England, the Yorks and the Lancasters, against one another for supremacy. Of course, the books do diverge in many different ways. There are many different plot threads. There's not a neat, direct comparison between one and the other in all ways, but it is ultimately based on that. For example, the two main houses in the Wars of the Roses were the Lancasters, who were located in the south, and up north you had the Yorks, who, they were northerners, and they were based up north, near York. Does that not sound familiar to you? I mean, you have up north, Yorks, ruling the kingdom of the north, the Starks. Okay, now south of them, I know south, really far south is Dorne, but okay, and you have a bunch of other kingdoms out there. But basically, their big rivals to the south of them are the Lannisters. Lannister, Lancaster. You're seeing the connection there? Okay, so there is some parallels we got right there. Now, ultimately what happened during the Wars of the Roses, and this is a very brief synopsis, it's very complex, very involved. I'm not going to get into the whole history of it, and I think History with Hilbert did a fantastic job breaking down what happened there. But basically what happened was you had a King Henry VI was mentally incompetent, Mad King Aerys. Kind of different. Mad King Aerys was violent, sociopath, a guy who liked to burn things, had an unhealthy obsession with fire. Henry VI was actually quite the opposite. He was actually too gentle, let other people lead him, basically listen to whoever the last person spoke to him. He would just do whatever that person said, and didn't have any decisiveness, and actually spent a good part of his reign in a coma, or sort of like a catatonic state where he just was completely unresponsive to the world around him. Point is, king with mental issues led to major political and social upheaval, which ultimately led to a massive civil war. Again, not exact parallels going on here, but yeah, close enough. Any case, so what happened was Henry VI was completely incompetent ruler, eventually led to the rise of the Yorkists, Richard York, who later on one of his sons would take over and later on become crowned Edward IV, who would then lose the throne. He would then bring it back, and then Henry would be brought back onto the throne, and then it would keep going back and forth a couple times, a lot involved there. But ultimately what happened was Henry would be overthrown, Edward IV would be on the throne as the king after completely overthrowing his opponents. And basically once he established power, he began a purge of the local nobility. Basically anybody who wasn't loyal to him or was a supporter of the Lancastrian cause. Edward was a Yorkist. I should mention that. I'm not doing a script here. I'm just off the top of my head. Henry was a Lancastrian. Edward was a Yorkist. So once the Yorkist king Edward IV took power, what he did was he basically purged the government and purged the kingdom of Lancaster supporters. And one of these was a young man in Wales by the name of Henry. Henry Tudor was the son of a minor nobleman. He was a Lancastrian, but it was like, a couple generations away. They're like distant cousins or something. Family trees are complicated. Don't bother me asking, trying to figure out who's related to who. It's a mess. What he had to do is leave and go into exile, and he went into exile with France as a young man. He was in his early teens at this point. Ended up in France, lived there. When he became an adult, what he did was he got an army together using foreign mercenaries, based around foreign mercenaries, went back to the British Isles, landed in Wales, eventually made his way to Bosworth Field, when eventually he would then defeat the Yorkist host, the Yorkist army, this time under the command of Richard III, the brother of Edward IV. So anyway, after Bosworth Field, Henry is victorious. Henry then crowns himself, or is crowned, Henry VII. He establishes the Tudor dynasty, which then has his son Henry VIII, and history goes on from there. Okay, now you're probably asking yourself, what does this have to do with Game of Thrones? And the answer is, using that information and just what happened during the Wars of the Roses, I have a pretty good prediction as to who is finally going to be the one sitting on the Iron Throne of Westeros. And the answer is Daenerys Targaryen. Now keep in mind, that doesn't mean I actually like Daenerys Targaryen or I want her to be on the throne. We all know that Stannis totally deserved it and he got screwed out of what is rightfully his. You know it, I know it, the show writers know it, everybody knows it. They just don't want to admit to it because Stannis is that much more awesome than all of you put together. I'm just saying. But think about this for a second. Now, if I recall from the books, it's been a couple years since I've read them, but what happened was the Mad King Aerys was overthrown by the coalition of the Starks, the Baratheons. The Lannisters showed up last possible moment. He was killed by Jaime, Kingsguard. Yeah, you know the deal. Okay, and Robert Baratheon comes over, takes over. Well, what happens to the child or a relative, not child of, was he a child? Yes, Daenerys was a child of the Mad King. So, what happened to this relative, a young child related to the overthrown king, gets sent to exile? That'd be Daenerys. She crosses the Narrow Sea, she ends up in Essos, and lives there, spends her whole life over there, until she eventually gets foreign mercenaries, i.e. the Unsullied, the Dothraki, a bunch of other foreign powers. They all gather around her banner. She gets a bunch of mercenaries, a bunch of guys whose names I can't even begin to pronounce. They all follow her under her banner. And then she in the show she returns. In the books she didn't get that far yet because Martin's a really slow writer. I'll get to that in a minute. She then crosses the Narrow Sea back to Westeros and takes over. Eventually, she's going to sit on it. She is basically Henry VII. That's my ultimate point here, is that Daenerys Targaryen is Henry VII. She is going to take the Iron Throne, if history is any indication of what's going on here. So that's it. You heard it from me here first, people. Daenerys is going to be the one sitting on the Iron Throne. Okay, do you want even more parallels between them? Henry VII is from Wales. Okay, he's a Welshman. What is the national animal of Wales? What animal, what creature is on the Welsh flag? It ain't a direwolf. Alright? So, you heard it from me. Daenerys Targaryen, she's going to be sitting on the Iron Throne. Okay? When all is said and done, and all push comes to shove, provided the writers don't screw around a lot, using historical precedents, I can predict, I am calling it right now, Daenerys Targaryen is going to be sitting on the Iron Throne, making the Wars of the Roses connection complete. I'm telling you, that's what's going to be. Now, doesn't mean I necessarily would like to see Daenerys on the throne. I don't think she deserves it. Then again, she has 3 giant razor-winged death machines. Well, in the book, she still has 3. I know in the TV show, I just got through pop culture osmosis. People talk about it. I haven't seen it, but apparently she lost one of her dragons to up north, which is, stupid. It's like, look, do they have anti-air capabilities? No, then how do you lose a dragon? Seriously, you have, 100-foot tall, fire-breathing winged death machine and you manage to lose one. Okay, you're incompetent. You're an incompetent person. You don't deserve to be on the throne. But that's what's going to happen anyway because of reasons I just said. But that doesn't mean I like it. You know, personally, I think Braun should be on the throne. It'll be, search your feelings. You know it's true. Braun should be on the Iron Throne. It'll be awesome. And I just want to take this opportunity. Look, it's been like 8 years. George Martin, if you are watching this, it's been like 8 years, you know, since Dance with Dragons came out, or 7 years. You know, it's been a while. You know, we waited like 5 years between Feast for Crows and Dance with Dragons. Now we're waiting 8 years. And, like, can you just, like, hurry up a little bit for Winds of Winter? Like, just, can you move along, please? Like, you know, just saying, please. Thank you. Also, I just want to, also point out, I'm reasonably certain that George R. Martin is trolling us. I am reasonably certain he's trolling us, because he has given specific instructions that in case he dies before the series ends, the series will not be completed. It will not be finished. So they're not going to pull like a Robert Jordan with the Wheel of Time. You know, he died right before the series ended, so they got Brandon Sanderson there to come in and, you know, clean up and, you know, finish things off. No, that's not going to happen. And I know George Martin. He loves to troll people. He likes to, you know, build our hopes up, hopes and dreams, and then red wedding them right there, right when you're not looking. He will do that. He will deliberately not finish the series and die before he can complete it, just for the sake of trolling us. I wouldn't put it past him in the slightest. He's probably got that all planned out, so don't get your hopes up of any kind of completion for this for the series. But yeah, there you go. Just my rant. So, Mr. Martin, you're a fantastic writer. I love your work. That being said, can you move a little bit faster on your, you know, I'm not saying, you know, like you have to churn one out like every other month or something like that. I'm just saying, like, it's been like, you know, the better part of a decade. I'm still not seeing anything. Please, I'm begging you. And can you not kill off any more of the Starks? They've suffered enough. Thanks. So that's it for the video. Nothing major, just something I wanted to talk about. Nothing really big here. Just was thinking about it. I figured I'd share it with all of you. No script, nothing like that, just going. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So, in any case, please hit the like and subscribe button. More videos will be coming out whenever I get around to it. And have a good day. Or don't have a good day. You're adults. You can have any kind of day you want. See you later.